Now, that's one other thing. Probiotics can have some really good anti-inflammatory benefits. So with diarrhea, we may even add in probiotics while we're doing the herbs, just because they can really help kind of calm the gut down, which may provide some relief with the diarrhea. And that's important because I need to make sure we're absorbing those nutrients. So if we can get the diarrhea to kind of like, compressed or dialed in, then that's going to help nutrition absorb a lot better. And then we used all the antimicrobials as well. That made a huge, huge difference. But one other thing I want to highlight, because you were talking about acid blockers and the spiral of negative consequences that can happen with that. Well, same with antibiotics, because antibiotics are commonly prescribed for diarrhea as well. What if it's not a bacterial issue? What if it's a parasite? What if it's a yeast overgrowth? What if it's a gluten sensitivity reaction? Well, guess what? Now you just knocked out a whole bunch of beneficial bacteria. Maybe you created more inflammation. We know antibiotics can create mitochondrial stress, so it's not good taking it unless you know it's going to help, right? So then you could create a whole bunch of more issues with the gut. Now we have this rebound overgrowth occurring, and now we may have more issues that intensify over time because of that antibiotic. So we really got to be careful if we're going to just throw medications at things kind of willy-nilly.
Well said. Well, take someone who has chronic fatigue. You mentioned the mitochondrial damage. We know that's associated with antibiotic use. So you've got someone that's tired, maybe because they've just been pooping so much. They're exhausted from all the mineral depletion. We talked about the adrenal stress. You take that chronically fatigued person, you throw antibiotics in the system, they're going to become more tired. So now they're not even motivated enough to get up and cook the healthy, nutritious foods they need to heal their gut. So I love that you brought that up, because my next thing I was going to say was, well, let's go down the rabbit hole and let's turn the tables a little bit. Let's take my daughter, let's take your son, and let's put them through the conventional medical rabbit hole. What would have happened? We would have taken your son to the pediatrician or my daughter to the pediatrician, and they would have said, oh, they've got diarrhea. Well, probably a bacterial issue. Let's give them a round of antibiotics. There's going to be a huge rebounding of Candida, possibly skin issues that would happen.
What if there was a parasite?
Exactly. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. What if my son got exposed to some gluten?
I know. Well,
it's not going to fix that.
And most of the time when people come to us, they've already been through that route. I've had many people that have been to their pediatricians with their children's health issues, and they've been disappointed at the level of care they've received. So they come to somebody like you or I, and we say, look, we really don't want to use antibiotics in this case. Number one, because we have the clinical data. We've run the genetic stool testing. We've run the urinary organic acids. We can tell you with confidence on the piece of paper, look, we've got this parasite, this bacteria, and we've got Candida overgrowth. So yes, you could use antibiotics for those bacteria, but our success rate is so high using herbs. Why throw in the big guns if we can use things like olive leaf and berberine and clove and other herbs that will still do the same antimicrobial benefit without killing mitochondria, without killing good guys? There's just a better way to do it, and that is the way to do it.
Exactly. We also may make changes with foods. We may cut out fermentable carbohydrates. If there's bacterial stuff being fed by it, we may lean more on a GAPS or kind of a soup or stew or kind of bone broth type of template where foods are more in a liquid form to make everything easier to digest. And also, we're going to add in extra anti-inflammatories, L-glutamine, aloe, slippery elm. Of course, Evan mentioned ginger already. These are excellent things to help kind of reduce inflammation, maybe even turmeric or curcumin. Conventional medicine typically won't touch that because what are their anti-inflammatory medications? Well, they're prednisone, maybe NSAIDs, right? These non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, which actually can rip up the gut lining more and create more problems. So a lot of times these medications won't be recommended because they may create more issues on the intestinal side. We know the major side effect of NSAIDs is ulcerations that kill 20,000 people a year, according to the New England Journal of Medicine. So they tend to not to reach for many of these anti-inflammatories because they tend to cause more problems than not. But in natural medicine world, we have a lot more anti-inflammatories that are natural and they aren't going to have those side effects and can be added into your diet and really have beneficial effects.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly you could get down the rabbit hole and not end up any healthier than when you went into a hospital or immediate care center. When we talk about antibiotics, we're assuming that if you did have a bacterial infection, we're assuming that that is a non-antibiotic resistant strain. But what if you've got C. difficile, for example, which kills so many people? Diarrhea could be C. diff. C. diff is something that we see every single
infection. Yep.
And C. diff has become very, very resistant to antibiotics, to where these gastroenterologists are recommending stronger and stronger drugs, sometimes even resorting to IV antibiotics to kill the Clostridia. I've never had an issue getting rid of Clostridia using herbs. I've seen it countless times. I know you have too. It disappears with the antimicrobials that are natural, because see, herbs are not a single mechanism, right? You can't just say, well, there's this one alkaloid or this one polyphenol. It doesn't work like that in nature. There's so many things that we don't even fully understand what's in there. We just know, hey, berberine has all this other stuff that comes with it, and that package deal gets rid of C. diff, where antibiotics just may not.
Exactly. That's why we'll add in specific Saccharomyces or Bifido or Lactobacillus species to really calm things down. My big kind of warning for everyone listening is if you have excessive blood in the stool, it's not stabilized, or the electrolytes and the minerals drop so low or so fast that we're dizzy, lightheaded, we may need to go to an ER to get an IV and to kind of get things stabilized while you get things on track. Same with the blood in the stool. So just keep an eye. If things are really intense and symptoms are ratcheting up fast and you can't get fluid in, you can't get electrolytes in, you can't get things stabilized, conventional medicine may need to be used to at least get things stable. Now that's going to be on the extreme side. We like to at least draw a line for people listening so they aren't incredibly dogmatic and only go the natural route. For the majority of people, that would probably be fine. But if you're in that camp where you can't stabilize, an IV with electrolytes will be helpful. If excessive blood's in the stool, then we may have to look at getting that at least stabilized in the meantime while we come back to this. We should never ignore it. We should always come back, but we may need some level of stabilization first.